Hi, it's Rana, and today is day 5 for Scraptember, and we're fussy cutting today. So I have pulled out these super cute photos of my granddaughter. I'm showing you there in the one I did a close up because she was drooling, and she was just drooling so much at this time, cutting some teeth. I picked out these beautiful yellow florals from Simply Stated Design to do my fussy cutting. And of course, I did all of my fussy cutting off camera. And I'm coming in here with a stylus, and it has a ball on the end so that you can kind of, I guess it's a pressure embossing technique. And so I went over the more shaded areas, kind of the outlines. In some areas, I used or ran the stylus over the entire area. In some areas, I went on the back side because I wanted the embossed part to be forward or up. And then these are all making indentions. So for things like the veins on the leaves and just the outlines of the petals and things like that. It just kind of makes a nice look. And you can see I fussy cut around a lot of the petals on those larger florals. On the smaller one, I didn't. I just did the embossing with that stylus. But on the larger one, you're going to see here, I am going to, and there's one that I wanted to be, kind of popping out. A couple of those. I'm just going around the areas. But anyway, on these larger florals, I guess first I'm going to make a border across the area that is going to be the background. I'm using a white background for the very back, and then I'm using this little lace border punch that I kind of fought with a little bit. But anyway, I'll get it finished up here. This border punch to go along the bottom part of the layout, and then I'll have the floral starting just above it. I wanted to have a printed background and not just the white, in case you could kind of see under some of the areas where I am, and I missed on that one. You can line it back up and repunch, and usually it works out fine, which it did. But that punch was really getting bad. It needs to be sharpened. You can sharpen a punch by punching through tin foil, but I was in the midst of this layout and I was not interested in trying to sharpen a punch at that moment. So kind of looking at the placement there so you can see the lace. I know I'm going to want something in between this punched lace and the floral. And here I think I'm going to start on the top side, and then it's like, no, this is not happening. So I just chopped it off, and I knew I didn't want it to be that big anyway, so it worked out just fine. And I will have a different border at the top. But I'm going to go ahead and get that tacked down to my layout. And then I'm going to start talking about this floral that I guess I'm pretty excited about. But anyway, I chose that background paper because if you can see under any of the areas, you don't want it to be stark white. And then some of the fussy cut around the edges where it was greenery, I was trying to show you, which you can't see probably any better than I could on that. It went so fast. It's 1 millimeter. So it's a very, very thin foam tape. And that's what I'm going to use to pop up the areas of the fussy cut floral that I wanted to be a little bit taller. So I'm going to go along here, and you're going to see that I am popping up areas where the floral would naturally be overlapping whatever is behind it there. And when it's, a printed paper, it's obviously flat, so it's not really overlapping. Once you fussy cut it, it's just given the illusion by curling it up and applying the foam tape. Even though it's real thin, you apply the foam tape to the outer edge, and then you kind of, like you just saw there, I tacked down and then pressed it even to the page, the part that would be overlapped by the next petal. So it turned out beautiful. This floral is a gorgeous floral anyway, and the shading that's done in this on this piece of paper is just beautiful. So it made it very easy to make it look nice. I kind of distressed the edges. That's just my preference. You wouldn't have to do that. But I like to, anytime I'm fussy cutting anything pretty much, I will distress the edges at least just a little bit. And then anywhere it's tucked flat to the page, I press that down real good and then pop up the areas that the petal is going to be overlapping the next petal. And I think it turned out really, really nice. I love how it looks. Like I said, this and then some of the leaves I also popped up. This paper was just so beautiful. I don't think you could go wrong with it. I wanted to make it extra fancy, I guess, just because it was so pretty. So that's why I chose this to do my fussy cutting. And still kind of tacking some of it completely down and popping some of it up. And again, with the 1 mm, it's barely popped up at all, but it's just enough to give you that illusion that this is a real flower. So I really love how it turned out. And I'm just about done. I've got a little bit more on this one. This one was overlapped by the bigger petal, and I didn't get it tucked down, but I'll fix that here in a moment. So let me know in the comments, are you playing along with Scraptember? Are you enjoying all the inspiration? I'm loving it. This is the first year I've ever done this. I love that the Scrappy Sisters kept this going, even though Laura Alberts is not able to participate this year. I think it's a lot of fun. The prompts have been great. And so far, I've had a video every day, even though day 2, I just kind of had an overview. I didn't do an actual process video. But so far, so good. We'll see how it goes. Trying to get the photos placed, and I kind of wish now that I would have overlapped the floral, but I think after all the work of fussy cutting, I ended up tucking it under, but I think it would have made the photos maybe pop out just a little bit more if I had overlapped it there and popped them up. I didn't really like having a mat, so I'm just going to end up distressing the edges of the photos. But here I started tucking it under because those petals were popped up anyway, so I thought, oh, I can just tuck it under, it'll be fine. And it is, it's fine, and they're super cute photos, and it ended up fine with them being tucked under too. But I always want my photos to be the main attraction, and I almost feel like I spent so much time working on these florals and they turned out so pretty, I made them more of the main attraction. So I'm going to kind of fuss around and decide. I knew I wanted some of the white die cut florals on here too, because it needed a little bit more white. Everything is very yellow. And I do love a good yellow, so I'm not saying anything negative there, but it needed a little more white. So I'm going to decide where to place the white florals, and I think here is maybe where I'm going to distress the edges. Oh, no, here I had some adhesive. This happens to me so often. I get adhesive on the front of the photo, and then I have to use that little eyeglasses cleaner to clean it off. And in the end, it's not going to matter because, well, you'll see. I won't even do a spoiler alert, but you'll see. So, still trying to decide where to put these florals, and they're going to be stuck down here in a minute, and then they're going to be lifted back off, a few of them. So, that's my normal. I have been just gluing stuff down faster than maybe I used to, because I'm nowhere near done with this layout and I'm already gluing. So maybe I need to go back to my more cautious way of laying everything out and deciding the entire layout before I ever start gluing, because I've ripped a little paper lately doing it this way, and I'm not too happy about that. So even on the die cuts, I do still go ahead and bend up the edges to kind of make it look like more of a real flower. And even on these little ones here, and they get a little bit of that 1 millimeter. This layout is actually, it looks very dimensional when you look at it close up in real life, but it's actually very flat. I have layouts that are much thicker than this. I do pull out some Scrap and Happy Studio Flare here shortly. Well, I think you can see them in the bottom left there. They're beautiful. It's the canvas flare. And I think this is her vintage line that she started here fairly recently. And I love how they look, and it really matches her little outfit very well. So after I pulled those out and decided I wanted to use those because they were so pretty, I went into my super old stash of lace. This is a crocheted lace, and I decided I wanted to use that as my border between the florals and the little punched border that I have there. So I'm going to fight with my red line tape for just a minute. I don't know of anything else that adheres lace better than that red line tape, so I will fight with it. And my lights went out, so I had to turn them back on, but it's kind of getting to that time of the evening as I'm scrapping this that there's a little bit of shadows anyway, just because the natural light that's coming through is even brighter than my lights. So I need to scrapbook where I have a lot of natural light because my eyesight is just not what it used to be. But I do end up having some shadows here in a little bit that you're going to see even though the lights are on. So I go ahead and distress the edges of that, and then I play around a little bit longer before I decide whether or not I want that lace at the top. I cut a piece and I thought I did want it, but I just wasn't real sure yet. So I'm doing some other things while I'm still contemplating whether I'm going to want that or not. And I try and distress the edges of the photo with my fingernail while they're already tacked down. And then I'm going to try and decide where to put these flare because I only have two. That's a challenge for me. The other ones in this pack, there were two that were this color, and then the other four are all blue. Well, of course, the blue's not going to match on this layout, but these two match so perfectly, I really wanted to use them. So I toyed with this little label, but it's not going to work. And then I had forgotten about this little tag, and it's so pretty, but it does not work anywhere because the direction that it needs to be, it's not going to work with this layout. So instead, I went and chose just a piece of cardstock. It's a colored cardstock that matched perfectly with the flare, which also, matched really well with her little outfit. So I die cut a couple of flowers, and I added my journaling in some little flag banners, and I showed it to you and thought I was done, but I'm not done. I still haven't tacked that down. This is still the 1mm foam adhesive that I'm going to use, and that's going to go there. You can see that I added one little heart down at the bottom, and I did pull that flower up. So I showed you again that I was done, and then I decided I needed some white splatters. So I'm getting a bunch of white splatters everywhere. This is a Dilutions splatter. Ink spray, I think is what it's called. And I'm going to show you again that I'm done. And I'm still not done because the ink splatter just faded right in. I have not had that happen with the dilution spray. Usually it stays really well, but on this case it did not. So I pulled out some white acrylic paint and it's going to show just fine. If you have ever splattered with white acrylic paint, you'll know that it is a just disaster with no matter what brush. Like, I'm tapping gently, I really am, but it is all over my pictures, it's all over my hands, it's all over my shirt, it's all over everything that was on my desk, everywhere, literally everywhere. So in my final pictures, I have actually reprinted the photos and adhered those down just right over top of the other ones because they were stuck pretty good. So anyway, I finally am finished. I hope you will go down to the description box and find the playlist and see everyone else who is fussy cutting today. I know I can't wait to see everyone's takes on this prompt. And we will see you again tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.